the Deputy Minister, Matlobo, DG, you and your personnel, and my colleagues on the Portfolio Committee. Welcome this morning to this meeting. We will deal with one issue from the department, and after that there is some administrative stuff that the committee will have to deal with. With that said, may I then ask let's have a moment for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Colleagues, we've got two new members, two alternates from the DA that has been ATC'd for this committee. I am not sure whether I've seen Honourable Van Zyl on. I'm not sure whether Honourable Bowman is also present, but there are the two new members that will be alternates for the DA on this committee. As I have mentioned, it is ATC'd, and therefore Parliament has approved it. May I quickly ask that the Honourable Van Zyl just introduce herself, open your camera and then introduce yourself.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning also to the Minister, the Deputy Minister and other colleagues. I am Marina Van Zyl. I'm from the Eastern Cape, and my committee is COCTA, but it also alternate then on water and sanitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Van Zyl. Is Honourable Bowman on? Seems not. Can I quickly just deal with apologies? I have received apology from the Minister that the Minister will have to leave at 11:30 to attend to other matters. Then I've got an apology from Deputy Minister Bloom. He's got a Cabinet Committee meeting and therefore he cannot be here. Our Secretary Nosipo has got a doctor appointment, and Honourable Ramahila is also having a doctor's appointment this morning. Honourable Reddy?
Thank you, Chair. Did you mention Honourable Moore? I see he sent a note on the group that he has a doctor's appointment as well. Stephen Moore. I apologize for doing this, but I have a funeral at 11 o'clock. So I may just log out, go there and then come back and log in.
100% understand. Yeah, Honourable Reddy, it is Honourable Ramahila that made an apology, and I have already submitted his apology.
All right.
And then I see there's a hand up from the committee, Portfolio Committee side.
Good morning, Chairperson. I'm here. I forwarded you Mr. Ramaila's. I'm present.
Oh, I then misunderstood that. Sorry, Nosipo. I thought you also went to the doctor. My apology. So we are only have then Deputy Minister Bloom, that's got a Cabinet Committee meeting, the Minister that will leave earlier, and then Honourable Ramahila that's got a doctor's appointment. Any other apologies? We also received the apology of Honourable Reddy that's got to leave for a funeral, but he could join later on again. Thank you very much. That said, Minister, can I hand over to you and your department to debrief the committee on the progress of the integration?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning to honourable members, and welcome to the new members who have joined. Marina Van Zyl is my home girl. Thank you very much, Chair, for inviting us to this meeting. Honourable Chair, I will be quick, having noted the apologies that are there. You have invited us, Chair, to take you through how far are we in terms of South African National Resource Infrastructure Agency. which represent a significant institutional reform aimed at creating a dedicated and national institution responsible for development, financing, ownership, operation and maintenance of strategic national water resource infrastructure. Let me also acknowledge dear Mahlobo DG and the entire management. With us here today, Honorable Chair, we have brought to the board of the South African National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency, as you have requested. Chair, on the 1st of June 2026, we have appointed the board, which is as follows. It has 9 members. The chair of the board is Mr. Ramateu Johannes Munyokolo. The deputy chair is Ms. Precious Nompumelelo Sibia. The other members are Mr. Simpiwe Kondlo, Mr. Nicholas Yanse Rabi, Ms. Mangone Mabatawung Nzaba, Dr. Risimati representing the department as designated by the minister, but also the section 7.3 it says section 7.3b allows that. Mr. Tabiso Hilda Selfishi, who is designated to represent the Minister of Finance. We have Mr. Greg White, who's a member, as well as Ms. Barbara Skriner, who's also a member. Honorable Chair, the department is also prioritizing the business continuity, IT integration, financial system migration, because, Chair, as you might be aware, that we are integrating 3 entities here, the TCTA, the water trading entity, as well as some of the people who are in our department. Chair, the immediate priorities are to ensure that we finalize substantive CEO appointment. Currently, we do have an acting CEO from TCTA, Mr. Percy Sishemane, and it was a well-calculated move, Chair, that we wanted a person who has an insight of what has been happening in the TCTA, so that when we do transfers of assets, of staff and everything, at least there's someone that knows about it. To approve the agency organizational structure, to complete the transfer of staff, assets, contracts, loans, and financial obligations, to finalize engagements with lenders on a national treasury on guarantees, because most of the lenders negotiated and entered into contract with TCTA. But now that we're bringing the new entity, we must also take the lenders on board, but also to complete the IT and financial systems. Honorable Chair, the immediate objective is to ensure that the agency becomes fully operational while maintaining uninterrupted water infrastructure services. Honorable Chair, as I stand down, we have to maintain uninterrupted operation of critical water infrastructure, complete the outstanding process necessary for formal disestablishment of the TCTA. The department's commitment is to ensure, Honorable Chair, honorable members, that establishment of this South African National Water Resource Infrastructure strengthens the country's ability to manage and sustain its strategic water infrastructure while protecting service continuity, financial sustainability, employees, and the interests of the South African public. There are risks involved, Chair, as we do that, but I will allow the DG to take the department, the portfolio committee through, because we've discussed that. I thank you very much, Chair and honorable members.
Thank you, Minister. DG, would 30 minutes be sufficient for you to make your presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. With your permission, I'm going to ask for the presentation to be made by Bongani Ngubane, who's our project manager for the process of establishing the NWRIA and the department. I think 30 minutes should be sufficient. Bongani, over to you.
Thank you, DG.
Thank you,
good morning.
DG.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning to the Honorable Minister and Honorable Deputy Ministers, Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, the board members of the newly established NWRIA, colleagues in the department. I'll be taking through the work that has been done by the department thus far in us establishing the agency, touching base on the executive summary, some of the reasons why we've established this agency, the sequential steps to be followed to establish the agency, the work done by the work streams, the transitional institutional timelines from our roadmap, the appointment of our transaction advisor, and the challenges and how are we mitigating those challenges during the process, and then the key discussions and decisions, rather, and actions that need to be taken by the newly appointed agency board and the way forward. Chairperson, in as far as the establishment process of the South African National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency, the department is well on track, and we are now currently at an advanced stage of the implementation phase. The department has ensured, together with TCTA, that we put in all the necessary structures, measures, and processes to ensure that all the risk associated with the transition is managed accordingly. We've also since introduced and appointed a transaction advisor to assist us with this process, who is an expert in measures and acquisitions. Our target date for the the establishment and the operationalization of the agency will be the 1st of April 2027. We are aware of certain key milestones that need to be made to empower the Honourable Minister to make a pronouncement on the legal transfer date according to the NWRIA Act. Chairperson, in terms of the Act, there are key conditions that must be satisfied for the transfer of the agency to be executed. And that is the government of Lesotho that must be consulted on the transfer of the treaty functions and the non-treaty functions from the TCTA to the agency. It's the arrangements that need to be made with the lenders of TCTA to the satisfaction of the Minister of Finance, and we must comply with the PFMA to transfer the loans and the guarantees associated to the agency. And it's the conclusion of a transfer agreement to transfer the staff, the personnel from TCTA and DWS across to the agency in terms of Section 197 of the Labour Relations Act. To fast-track these key steps and milestones, Chairperson, the department has responded in the following way. We have appointed the board, the Honourable Minister appointed the board on the 1st of June this year, following a concurrence from Cabinet on the 6th of May. So the board process followed a formal recruitment that was managed by an independent nominations committee that was appointed by the Honourable Minister. The board consists of a multidisciplinary team of 9 executive, 2 non-executive, the 2 being 1 representative from the department and the other from the National Treasury. The board then needs to appoint then the chief executive officer and the chief financial officer, who will serve also as executive board members in the board. Chairperson, we've had the Honourable Minister's board inauguration meeting on the 12th of June this year. Also, the Honourable Deputy Minister was there, and where they outlined clearly what the expectations of the board that need to fulfill their fiduciary duties and responsibilities as board members of the agency. Another key announcement was the appointment of Mr. Percy Sechemane as the acting CEO of the agency during that particular engagement. The other key engagement that has taken place since the board appointment is the DG and the CEO of TCTA's inauguration of the board, which was a 2-day session held on the 9th and the 10th of July, where all the work that is currently being done by the work streams established was presented. We've also introduced the transaction advisor, PwC, where they also touch base on their methodology that they're going to be following in assisting us to establish the agency. The other key engagement that has happened since the board appointment is the 2-day strategic session that the board had on the 3rd and the 4th of August this year. The key following items were discussed being the strategic readiness, the synergies that must be realized from establishing the agency, our asset management and funding readiness, infrastructure and operational readiness, the workforce integration, the future culture and change management strategy that we want to roll out to the employees. The board has since established its subcommittees that will absorb the work streams and assist the board during this transitional phase. DWS and TCTA has identified and submitted a list of employees that will then assist the acting CE and the board during this transitional period.
My apology. Can I quickly stop you there? I see I've got a hand honorable already.
Thank you, Chairperson. I apologize for interrupting the presenter, but I think this is exactly what I was asking for. Perhaps if those members, as their names are being mentioned, if they could put on their camera so we could see who they are, it will help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. This is standard that if you've got bandwidth, please put on your camera so that everybody can see you. My apology for that. Continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. These are the following board members that have been appointed, starting with the Chairperson of the board, and Dr. Jonas Monyoloko, who has a master's in business administration, well experienced, who's currently the Chairperson of Randwater. We also have the Deputy Chairperson, Ms. Precious Nompulelo Sibeya, who is a registered chartered accountant and currently is the Chairperson of TCTA. We have Ms. Barbara Schreiner, who is a master's in environmental science, is a former DDG of water resources management in the department. We have Mr. Simpiwe Nicholas Kondlo, who has a master's in engineering management, has extensive experience in water infrastructure management and is an engineer. We have Mr. Gregory Nigel Joseph White, who has a qualification in economics and honors in development studies, who's also a board member of TCTA, who comes with project finance and treasury management experience. We have Mr. Nicholas Yasser van Rensburg, Rabi, who has a master's in law and marine environmental law. He is an independent policy and legal advisor to Agri-SA. Then we've got Ms. Manyoka Matabeng Ntaba, who has a master's in geography. She brings in the research experience, environmental experience, working with the CSIR, and is also in academia. Then we have Dr. Rismati Matie, who has a PhD in civil engineering. He is currently the Deputy Director General of Water Services Management in the department. He is the member designated by the Minister of Water and Sanitation to the board. Then we have Ms. Tabiso Hilda Sefishi Mahomo, who is a member that has been assigned by National Treasury or the Minister of Finance to the board. She has a master's in science and in finance, investment, and master's of science and technology management. She is currently the head of the program management unit at Infrastructure Finance and Implementation Support Agency. Those are the board members, Chairperson. We've ensured that we toe the line and follow the script as prescribed in the Act to ensure that we have the necessary mix of capable, suitably qualified individuals to serve as board members of the agency. Chairperson, looking at the key risk and mitigation to manage our stakeholder confidence, linking it to the key milestones in terms of Section 3612. As far as the lenders of TCTA are concerned, DWS has engaged the lenders of TCTA continuously over 3 years now. We've kept them abreast of all the latest developments relating to the establishment of the agency. We have provided the lenders with the Act. We've provided them with the business case, the approved business case. We've also provided them with an independent report from Ernst & Young that concludes that the lenders of TCTA will not be in a worse off position by transferring their loans across to the agency. As DWS, we've taken note of all the lenders' key requirements for their satisfaction to transfer the loans across to the agency, and we've made sure that this is included as part of the scope of the work to be done by the transaction advisor, PwC. We are currently having continuous engagements between ourselves as DWS, the National Treasury, and TCTA, along with the lenders of TCTA, on the processes going forward to ensure that we transfer the loans and the guarantees associated with those loans smoothly across to the agency. The second chairperson being the bargaining chamber, organized labor, as DWS and TCTA, we have introduced the establishment of the agency to the bargaining chambers of both DWS and TCTA. So as a project team, we've been engaging them, and we've taken note of all the expectations that organized labor has regarding the process for us to enter into a successful transfer agreement to transfer the staff. As far as the government of Lesotho and the Lesotho Highlands Commission is concerned, they've been formally notified of the existence of the Act and what is enshrined in the Act to transfer the treaty functions and the non-treaty functions of the TCTA across to the agency. There will be further engagements with the government of Lesotho and Lesotho Highlands Commission on the establishment of the agency and the implications thereof going forward until we reach the transfer of the treaties across to the agency. Chair, just to touch quickly on the essence as to why we are creating the agency, it is captured there that the agency is a single national water infrastructure institution that will secure South Africa's water future through an integrated stewardship, operations, maintenance, and sustainable financing and effective delivery of water assets. Chairperson, we've highlighted the core responsibilities and the mandate of the agency emanating from Section 5 of the Agency Act, and we've set out the core functions that will enable this mandate to be carried out, starting with the development and financing of delivery infrastructure, the ownership and operation of maintenance of assets, revenue collection and financial sustainability, ensuring reliable, equitable, and sustainable bulk water supply. And just to touch base on the key functions that will enable the agency to carry out the mandate is being function 2, to build and operate and maintain the infrastructure. Function 3, to fund and sustain the asset base. Function 4, the water supply and management of our customers. Function 5 being the delivery development impact. The 6th one being the build capacity and to maintain the governance structures, as we've also appointed a board. To exercise commercial and legal powers, the agency owning and acquiring the assets, and then also entering into strategic partnerships with the department and the CMAs and the water boards in areas of common interest where a working relationship needs to exist between these institutions. And then lastly, Chairperson, the execution of the treaty and international functions that we have with the government of Lesotho and neighboring states within the SADC region. Chairperson, the appointment of the transaction advisor, as I've mentioned, that we've appointed the transaction advisor as PwC from the 15th of April. Their project is phased out into 3 phases. The phase 0 being the understanding and the analysis of the as-is of all the environments in WTE, the infrastructure branch, and TCTA. The second phase being the design and implementation, and then the closeout report post the transition into the agency. The key focus areas that we've highlighted to the transaction advisor to assist us to ensure that we have a smooth transition is the HR, where they have to develop the organizational structure, including all the HR policies, and indicating what is the interim state and the desired end state. We are requesting them to also assist with the communications and change management strategy to engage all internal and external stakeholders, and the messages that go to all the stakeholders. The third being the finance, where we rely on them to also assist with the lender's due diligence, to assist with the assembling of the pro forma financial statements, the financial modeling, and assessing the financial viability. And then lastly, the information technology, where we've made it clear to our strategic advisor that our business processes cannot come to a halt from day one, and all our systems must be integrated and intact to serve the functions of the agency going forward. Chairperson, this is the snapshot of the roadmap and some of the key steps that need to be followed to establish the agency. Some of these steps have already been completed and done, starting with the registration and incorporation of the agency. From the department side, we filed the papers with the CIPC. We are in engagement with them to file any other further documentation to complete the process. As far as the listing of the agency, we've had an amendment to the Act, the Section 3.2. The agency will be listed as a Schedule 2 company of the PFMA, a major company of the state. The minister has appointed a nominations committee that ran the process to appoint the board. The board is now, and the deputy chairperson and the chairperson of the board have been appointed. The board has to advertise the position of the CE and recommend to the honorable minister the candidate to be appointed as the CE. Currently, we've mentioned that we have an interim and acting CE in position. The board and the honorable minister needs to come to approve and finalize the shareholder compact. And then the board needs to appoint the permanent CE and the CFO going forward. Another key action is the audit by the AG of both the TCTA and the WTE for the numbers that will be transferring across. Then lastly, it's going to be the transfer of the staff, the assets, the loans, and the agreements of TCTA, including the guarantees associated with those loans. And finally, the disestablishment of TCTA once all of that has been concluded. Chairperson, just to take you through the governance structures that we put in place in establishing the agency. The department has set up 7 work streams, being the finance, the IT work stream, the technical and operations work stream, the human resources and change management work stream, legal work stream, and the governance work stream. The work stream concludes of both the staff or the executive members of DWS and TCTA. We are meeting on a regular basis, usually on a 2-week period, but lately more often than we used to, because of where we are now in the process. And then the appointment of the PwC, who's also slotting into the work streams to assist with all the work that needs to be done. Starting with the legal work stream, the legal work stream has drafted the addendums and the letters to seize the contracts or the agreements across to the agency. PwC is assisting with finalizing those amendments and transferring the agreements across to the agency for us to identify the agency as the successor and title of all those contracts. We've written the letters to all the lenders also of TCTA and all the parties that we have contractual arrangements with. The terms of the government of Lesotho is concerned. We are also working with the Department of International Relations and Cooperation to assist us in engaging with the government of Lesotho and Lesotho Water Highlands Commission. And then the work stream would have to also assist now in terms of the Gazette notice to disestablish the TCTA and deschedule the TCTA in terms of the PFMA. The finance work stream. And the finance work stream, Chairperson, I've touched base on this as to how we are managing our lenders and to transfer the loans across to the agency. What I would like to mention here is that the lenders have concluded the appointment of their financial or legal advisors to be Becker and McKenzie. That will be conducting the due diligence on the agency. As far as the guarantee of confirmation is concerned, we are engaging National Treasury. The DG has written to the DG of National Treasury, and the DG of National Treasury has responded in the letter, giving guidance on all the key requirements that need to be followed for us to transfer the loans and the guarantees associated with the loans. The final step there, Chairperson, will be for us to confirm these existing guarantees and be transferred to the agency once the lenders of TCTA and National Treasury has been engaged and the process has been completed. The other task is a benchmarking task that we've done against other SOEs on how to cover the asset base and the debt that has been taken on. It is a report for the board to consider in its decision-making going forward. As far as the IT work stream, also bringing in the PSP to assist us with the systems integration and migration plan. They have done an IT due diligence looking at all the IT systems within the WTE and TCTA and used by the infrastructure management branch. They are busy with the IT implementation plan, and we're seeing that should be completed by January. We are keeping an IT risk register of all the risks related to the information systems and putting in the necessary measures and mitigations to contain and control those risks. As far as the transfer of the assets, Chairperson, DWS has kept a complete asset register of all the assets through its annual verification process. The AG has come in to audit the annual financial statements, including the note on property, plant and equipment and the asset register. And to date, we've not had any material misstatements that relate to the audit of our infrastructure, and we account for the infrastructure according to GRAP accordingly. The committee has also established a subcommittee that has identified all the contracts that will enable the agency to be operational from day one. These contracts have been handed over to the legal workstream and the PwC to finalize the transfer of these contracts across to the agency. Another key achievement of this workstream is the table of functions that has been developed, emanating from the functions coming from the Act. We've been able to map out the functions that relate to the agency, the functions that relate to the department, and the functions that relate to the CMA, so that we are clear on the areas of common interest where the agency, the department, and the CMAs will be working together. Chairperson, we've also established a subcommittee that is looking at financial viability, looking at our systems as how we are going to improve our revenue collection, our revenue billing and collection on the other end. And then lastly, Chairperson, is the procurement of a service provider who's going to assist with the conditional assessment and asset management plan. We are now at the evaluation phase of the bid, and we're hoping that this bid should be finalized by end of August. As far as the communications workstream, Chairperson, we have a communication strategy that has been developed. We are now in the implementation phase of the strategy, and we kicked it off with the DG circular and a video to the staff, where the DG has introduced the transfer of the staff across to the agency. The agency has received coverage in the SONA through the president, and the agency has also received coverage in various media houses and publications. As far as the HR workstream, the key deliverables is the organizational structure, the skills analysis, the culture of the agency, the communication and change in management strategy, and the key policies, including the remuneration policy, the engagement with organized labor, and the discussions to transfer the staff across with organized labor, and the communication on the establishment of the agency has been done with all the staff that are affected by the move. One key piece of legislation, the transfer is in terms of Section 197, and I think the key take-home here, Chairperson, is that we are transferring this agency as a going concern. all employees that are affected by the transfer will automatically move to the agency. It is not discretionary for the employees to choose whether they are going. But the principle is that if the function is moving, then the employees will follow the function across to the agency. In terms of risk management, there is a transitional risk register that has been kept. The transitional risk register is a live document that incorporates all the risk emanating from the various work streams, and we are managing the risks and the mitigating factors going forward during the transition and post-transition. Chairperson, some of the key timelines for a snapshot from our project roadmap. We have a board in place, Chairperson. The transitional processes kicked off from June this year, pushing on to following year, which is March next year. We are busy now finalizing our transitional arrangements as to how we are going to manage this transition between the TCTA, the agency, and the department. We have 60 million rands that has been allocated by the National Treasury for establishment. It will be run from the department side, from the CFO during this transitional phase. The board of the agency needs to finalize its strategy and corporate plan next year to be submitted. And then also the agency needs to finalize its budget, which is also a responsibility of the board. And then, Chairperson, the processes to wind down and to disestablish TCTA will then kickstart as of April going forward. And then the transfer of all remaining staff within DWS and TCTA to kickstart the full operational period of the agency. The key challenges, Chairperson, I think I've touched base on securing the timely approval of the transfer of government guarantees. We are on top of this. I've explained the engagements that are happening between National Treasury, the DWS and TCTA and its lenders. And I believe that this risk has been reduced to a very low level based on how we have trended. Managing the complexities of the transferring the contracts of the infrastructure assets. As I've mentioned, the contracts, the addendums, the contracts have been identified to ensure that the agency is operational from day one, and the addendums have been made to those contracts. It also ties down to us not having any interrupted infrastructure operations. Again, Chairperson, I believe that the risk here has been managed accordingly based on what we have done and how we've brought in the PwC to assist us. And then the successful integration, financial systems, HR and IT systems is also being managed by the introduction of our PwC and the terms of reference that has been given to them to assist us in this regard. In terms of managing the staff, Chairperson, once again, we've engaged the transfer or the establishment of the agency has been introduced to both bargaining councils, as I've mentioned before, and the process is ongoing and the risk is being managed there accordingly. The international partners are aware, as I've mentioned, being the government of Lesotho in terms of the act and the treaties that need to be going across. For governance capacity and decision-making, the board is in place. The board has its subcommittees that will also be supported by the staff from DWS and TCTA. And I've mentioned that we've got a risk register to mitigate and identify all the risks that are applicable during this transition phase that need to be managed, even also post-transition once the agency is established. Chairperson, this brings me to the key decisions that need to be made by the board of the agency as they've been newly appointed, is to approve the target operating model, is to approve the organizational structure, to approve the financial model, to approve the pro forma consolidated financial statements, to approve the HR, finance, IT, and governance policies, to basically be the successor in title of the explicit guarantees that must be transferred from TCTA to the agency. They need to acknowledge the treaty and the non-treaty functions of the department and the TCTA that need to move to the agency. They must receive the assets in terms of Section 42 to the agency once transferred by the DG as the accounting officer of the department. They must receive the WTE and the TCTA staff once we've completed the transfer agreement. And then the agency must be recognized as the successor in title of all contracts and agreements, including the PwC contract that will be moved to the agency in due course. The way forward, Chairperson, is to finalize the appointment of the substantive Chief Executive Officer for the Honorable Minister and the Board to conclude the shareholders' compact. As I've mentioned before, the approval of the structure and the target operating model is key. The complete transfer of staff and the assets and the loans and the contracts to the agency is to finalize the agreements with the lenders as we are bringing the agency board also on board in this process of confirmation of the guarantees. It's a complete systems, IT and financial systems integration for us to be ready before the implementation date. And it's the continual implementation and communication and change management strategy to all stakeholders and employees. And then to finalize the transitional and post-implementational risk register through a risk management plan. And then finally, upon completion of all the activities, to proceed with the formal disestablishment of TCTA. I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson,
Thank you
DG and the
very
Minister.
much. DG, would you like to add?
No, thank you, Chair. I think Bongani's made a very good, thorough presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Minister?
Well covered, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a comprehensive report on this matter. We'll now go over to questions. 3 questions per round, per member. Can we start? I see. Honorable Reddy, would you like to start with the questioning, please?
Thank you, Chairperson. Let's welcome the establishment of this agency. As the MK Party, we want to congratulate the newly appointed board. You are being entrusted with one of the most important responsibilities in the country, securing South Africa's water future. At the moment, we stand at a cul-de-sac because the country is screaming out to have water. It's a water crisis everywhere you go. So we want to wish you well. But precisely because we want this agency to succeed, we cannot simply applaud this presentation and move on. The danger, Chair, is that we create a shiny new institution, give it a brand new board. I must say that the CVs of the board members are extremely impressive. We give it a new logo, we give it a new organogram, but we transfer old problems into this new shiny board. And that is where this committee must become extremely vigilant. The agency will develop infrastructure, own and maintain strategic assets, raise finance, collect raw water charges, enter commercial agreements, and enforce payment. That is enormous power, Chair, and enormous responsibility. But when we read further, we see that government guarantees are still being dealt with. Lenders are conducting due diligence. Staff, assets, loan agreements, and contracts still have to be transferred. The shareholder compact is still to be finalized. So my first question is very simple. What exactly is the financial position that this new board is inheriting? Because before Parliament can celebrate the birth of this new agency, give us the full balance sheet. And let's not hold back our punches. What is the total value of the assets being transferred? What is the total debt being transferred? What is the value of government guarantees? What are the outstanding receivables? And critically, how much of that debt is actually recoverable? Because we cannot create a national water infrastructure agency and then discover 2 years down the line that we transferred a financial time bomb into it. And secondly, Chairperson, I'm concerned about the growing army of consultants around this transition. You see, PwC was appointed as the transactional advisor. There is a PSP that's supporting the work streams. Another PSP is being procured for asset management plans. Lenders themselves have appointed legal and financial advisors. So please tell this committee, what is the total cost of consultants associated with establishing this agency? And more importantly, when does the consulting stop and the state starts developing its own capacity? We've seen this being played out in too many other government agencies in the past. We cannot establish a supposedly powerful state infrastructure agency that becomes permanently dependent on private consultants to tell it how to operate. Then what is the purpose of having this board? Thirdly, and my final point, Chair, the report itself acknowledges the danger of disruption to water infrastructure during the transition and proposes business continuity and contingency arrangements. Now, this worries me. Water infrastructure cannot have a transition problem. A family that opens a tap does not care whether the asset belongs to DWS or TCTA or this agency. What they want is water. So I want an unequivocal assurance today. Can the board guarantee that not one community will suffer an interruption in water supply because government got this transition wrong? Chairperson, let us measure this institution differently from all the others, not by how many board meetings it holds, not by how many consultants it appoints, not by how beautiful its corporate plan looks. Let's measure this agency by the dams that's built, the infrastructure rehabilitated, the projects that's delivered on time, water secured, jobs created, and communities that receive reliable water. We welcome this agency. We congratulate the board, but our message to the board is very clear. You are inheriting an institution to administer. You are inheriting a national water crisis to resolve, and this committee will hold you accountable for the results. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Thank you very much, Honourable Reddy. Chair, I will take the last part of the question. Dear Mahlobo will take the first part. Honourable Reddy, thank you very much for your comments. The TCTA, WTE were not operational in terms of ensuring that communities get water from their taps. There is a sphere that is responsible for that. Their mandate has been going out to financial market to fundraise for the construction of the water resource. But when it comes to operational, it is not the function. It was not the function of TCTA. It will not be the function of this new agency. The new agency will operate as we've outlined, but they don't go to an extent of a tap, because at the moment, we always say that we do have a bulk water infrastructure, but the challenge is on reticulation. Surely they're not mandated to regulate, to reticulate, neither they are mandated to do distribution, but their mandate is outlined clearly on the founding documents of what they are supposed to do. Dear Mahlobo will come in. Thank you very much, Chair.
Deputy Minister. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. A very good morning to you, and morning to Minister and your members, the DG and the team and the leadership of the agency and the acting CE. I love the suit for Honourable Reddy. Looks very handsome on the suit, Chairperson. And let's also congratulate our member of our committee, Ms. Gobe. It's her birthday today, Chairperson. and she should be owing us a birthday cake. Honorable Reddy, thank you so much for welcoming the appointment of the board with men and women of high caliber. Let's just clarify some few issues, Honorable Reddy. One of the most important aspects, we've worked with you, with Honorable Person as a chair for some time on this project. Remember, we produce a business case. There is a business case and a well-thought business case for the establishment of the agency. We shared these issues with yourselves, including cabinet and in our country. We look at, in terms of the value chain, Honorable Reddy, because you are very conversant with the water value chain, like the minister is guiding you right now. We are at the upstream in terms of water security chair of our country. In terms of the water security of our country, these are all the assets that the minister owns on behalf of the people as a public trustee, the dams, the canals, that are all over the country. We know now that for the more than 5,000 dams, the minister, all the strategic dams, either for economic use, whether for domestic and others, minister owns a sizable number in terms of those particular volumes. This is where we are. And when we look at the asset base in terms of water classification, in terms of infrastructure, you can find time to check the report by independent organization, the Engineering Council of South Africa, ICSA. That report, Chairperson, has classified these assets to be a D-. In other words, they are still in good condition, but they also require from time to time the issues of business continuity in terms of rehabilitation. That's why there is a lot of rehabilitation projects. I know in the past, the committee was always asking, what is the functionality of our dams and how safe they are? They are still in good condition. The DG will indicate the value. But when we're actually looking at this, that asset base in terms of the fleet runs at more than 100 billion rands. That is good assets. And you will know that, Honorable Reddy, these assets, they've been able to carry the country through in terms of something called assurance of supply. Assurance of supply is unlike in electricity chair, where they talk about energy availability factor. We do have contracts, Chair, with all the users that are getting water, whether from the water boards that they get water from the department in terms of this account, that these assets are being transferred, whether in some municipalities. Our assurance levels, Chairperson, they're actually at more than 90%. When it comes to ESCOM, your social and others, these are the good assets, Honorable Reddy. Therefore, you shouldn't be worried around the issues of assurance of supply to those that require the water from the primary source, which is national water resource infrastructure. We're not talking about secondary infrastructure managed by the water boards or the other tertiary infrastructure that is managed by the Water Services Authority. That's why Minister is correct. These dams, even if they're in the agency, Minister remains the only shareholder, 100% shareholder on behalf of our people. There is no crisis. We have done some due diligence. One of the biggest risks we had is that these monies we borrow from the market, Chairperson. Remember, TCTA has been borrowing money. And when TCTA borrows money, they will come to the minister first. First, they do a due diligence. Is this project going to be bankable? And then government has always come in to say, what is the social component and the economic component? These agents were also balancing the two. We're balancing the two because we don't want these agents to be only elitist, to support only economic activities. They will come to the minister. They will still have to go to National Treasurer and be able to borrow the money for concurrence. We have never defaulted, Honorable Reid. We have never defaulted on all the bonds we hold when it comes to actually paying back our creditors in terms of TCTA. And the money has always been given to TCTA is coming from our water trading account, which is the WTE, which is inside the department because it had a treasury function where it does the billing, it does the collection. And we've been reporting about that account. When you approved the business plan, you will see that this account over the period is ranging about more than 18 billion or so. But then there was issues around issues of collection, which was the risk. But let me indicate to you, when Sean and the team and the CEO of TCTA, we directed, the minister was leading the process, I supported them. We engaged with all the lenders. They are very comfortable that even if there is this transitional period, their monies are not at risk. Those guarantees are still being held by government. But for the new money that we might have to borrow, we're going to look at the balance sheet because that's what you're going to use as a collateral to do those. Therefore, there is no issue. That's why the presentation is clear on you. When you look at that risk matrix, the issue of the existing bonds is not the biggest risk. There is a risk, Honorable Reddy, that has came through over some time. The risk is about the financing of the water sector. Remember, one of the biggest issues, many organizations, municipalities are owing the water boards. There's been an escalation in the owing of the water boards, but the minister has been leading, supported by yourself and the chairperson. You remember, Chair, you convened us both with National Treasurer here, where you forced National Treasurer when people refused that issue of holding back of some of the component of the equitable share. If you never came in on board yourselves, we would have lost it. But for the first time, we're able to do that. We're able to take a certain portion. Last month, they were screaming over the Minister of Finance was starting to pay for that particular aspect. That escalation of the debts owed to water boards, then it translates to water boards that don't have capacity. Those small ones, remember your two that were very on the brink of collapse with the intervention of the minister engaging premiers, the MECs and the municipalities, including yourselves, pushing treasurer to act. We're able to save this water board, Val, Mahalis, then there's payment that you can see now. But at the very same time, these water boards were owing the water trading entity, the trading account. And we have always been transparent to you that there's been an escalation on the WTE debt, and we need to be able to find mechanism. That is the risk that still exists there, Honorable Reddy, that I think we have the capability to manage it. The other issues around the work that National Treasurer is doing, ourselves and the Auditor General, in terms of ensuring that we have a good balance sheet in terms of even in terms of the good health, in terms of accounting. Remember, this is a Schedule 2 organization that we need to be able to do that. But at this stage, we're very clear. There are not many problems. The staff that is being transferred, in the main, that combination of the staff from TCTA around the financial models, managing these things, big project like the Lesotho Highlands and the others, whether you speak about the ORDP in Mpumalanga, the Olifants River Development Program and others, there's a good record. And then the WETE are those who are managing that particular account, but it does not mean that there is no risk mitigation. There is a transitional team. That transitional team had to be supported by experts to bring this organization of these sites, including the asset base, including those issues of commitments that are there. You will need to have a technical advice, but it's not a permanent feature. Minister was very clear. There is a new board. It has fully taken over, but it cannot move without a transition. That's why DG and the team, we must be able to shepherd this thing, but also reporting to the minister on an ongoing basis. We're very clear. The shareholder agreement is the first thing that must be concluded. Like with all other entities, it's a norm. They've done their strategic planning now, and very, very good. I did participate on behalf of the minister, the thing that they need to look at, and the sensitivity, and Treasurer is supporting us. Let me allow DG, if he does have those numbers, but all these numbers, Chair, they were clearly articulated in the business plan that was approved by Cabinet, concurred by Treasurer, shared with all the stakeholders that are there. And the issues of staffing, I don't think we are going to have major issues. People that are related to the work, they will go there. Just as a formality, the unions must be consulted. We just have to look at the conditions of service. The organogram is already there, but it's what we call it a model organogram. And then the final organogram must be approved by the agency itself. But we do have that capable board that infuses continuity and change. You can see there is an element of TCTA. You have an element of others who have been in the sector for some time, and then independent non-executive directors. I think, Chair, let's just allow Sean one or two if he does have the figures, or the acting CE. They will know the figures. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. DG?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask the CEO of TCTA is in the meeting to talk about the value of the loan book, which is going over to the NWRIA. And I'm going to ask our CFO to talk a bit more about other aspects of the WTE balance sheet that is going over. But the book value of the assets on our asset register is DWS, which are going over to the agency is 76 billion in terms of our asset register. Of course, that's the book value, Chair. If we were to build all those dams now, new, it would cost a lot more than that. One other point, the value of the PwC contract is 28 million over 18 months. And I would just want to make the point that it's good management practice to appoint a professional, experienced and highly qualified transaction advisor for a merger of this nature. It's always done in the private sector when a merger, especially if a merger of this magnitude and complexity is done. An independent, highly qualified and experienced transaction advisor is appointed as the norm. And we're following good management practice by appointing a transaction advisor. It's for the duration of the transition. It's not an ongoing permanent thing where we're relying on consultants. After the transfer process has been completed, then their contract will come to an end, and there'll be no more need for a transaction advisor. Frans, would you like to come in with some more information on the balance sheet of the WTE, including, for example, its total revenue that will be going over to the NWRIA? Frans?
Yes, thank you, DG. Good morning to the chairperson, the committee, minister and DM. Yes, DG, in summary, I will talk to the revenue when we close the financial year. Those are the figures that the Auditor General is currently finalizing the sign-off on 31st of March 2026. Our total revenue was 21 billion. And in terms of assets, as you have indicated, I'll try and do a high-level split, that our total assets at the end of the financial year was 144 billion. And of those current assets, 32 billion, of which 24 billion relates to the trade receivables, which we have been presenting to the committee. Also, for Q1, we did present the balances and the measures that we have put in place to ensure that we optimize collection. And then in terms of non-current assets, it's 111 billion, property, plant and equipment being 68 billion, and intangible assets 43 billion. And then with regard to our liabilities, when we closed the financial year, we were sitting at 20 billion, which includes also the liabilities that DGS asked the acting CE to talk to. So we have also presented quarter one, which I'll summarize, DG, that at the end of quarter one, we presented to the portfolio committee the trade receivables, which was at 27 billion, and also reflecting 4 billion, which was recovered for the related period. And we also demonstrated that the WTE is a going concern, and all the measures that we have taken to recover the outstanding debts were presented to the portfolio committee at the end of Q1. That is in summary, DG, the confirmation of WT as a going concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Franz. Percy?
Good morning, Chair and members and the members of the board. The response in terms of the amount, our loan book at this particular point in time, it's a moving target. I need to start there. At some point, it was around 18 billion, but as we speak, it's hovering around 14 billion. But we are also still in the process now to get more money because we don't want to have a lot of money with us and then we have to pay for the interest and being able to have those facilities with us. So it is a moving target. On the one side, like as an example, this morning I've just signed a prepayment to DBSA of around 10 million as part of us trying to make sure that we can manage where we are properly. But we are also on the other side going into the market to borrow money at this particular point in time. So it is a moving target because we have projects that we're dealing with and we do now go into the market as and when it's required, not necessarily going to have money sitting with us and not being utilized to actually create new assets. So it is a moving target, like I'm saying. So at this stage, we are hovering between 14 billion and 18 billion. But it's just the nature of how we're dealing with business because we still need to manage the business of TCTA in a manner of those projects that the minister has actually assigned to TCTA to go into the market and borrow money. I hope I'm answering the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Reddy, that was your responses.
Thank you to those that responded. I think let me just briefly say this. Number one, Minister, let's get away and let's move away from this notion that as national government, what happens to the TAPs is not our responsibility. We are a sphere of government. We are still government. As you traverse the land now, trying to get votes for local government elections, those residents not getting water, I'm not saying you nationally only supply bulk water. Deputy Minister, I accept the distinction between this agency being upstream and municipalities are responsible for articulation and maintaining their infrastructure. But that actually strengthens my concern. You say that the agency can provide more than 90% assurance of supply and has an asset base exceeding 100 billion rands, yet municipalities are failing. Water boards are owed billions, and that debt eventually travels up the value chain. So my question still remains, how do you protect the agency from inheriting the financial consequences of municipal failure? And to conclude quickly, because you cannot build a financially sustainable upstream agency if the downstream institutions that must pay for the water are collapsing. Deputy Minister, I must thank you for the compliment on my suit. If the agency performs as well as you say I look today, then perhaps we have nothing to worry about. But Parliament's job is to worry before the crisis, not after it. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Minister, would you like to respond? Because I really think Honourable Reddy is making a valuable point here to say that although the agency is upstream, it is downstream that's got to pay for the services to tick over the loans so that we can fund the loans. So I understand there is guarantees, and we as a committee has worked very hard to make sure that National Treasury gets on board so that we can get our hands on the equitable share. Although I will believe that colleagues from Cocteau will not agree with us, but you know, we've got to think water is life, and we cannot allow that our water boards and our infrastructure upstream then collapse because downstream they don't pay. Minister?
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. I don't want us to mix. It's not my wish to mix two different things. I thought we're still talking about the agency here. If we are to come again and discuss the role of municipality vis-a-vis sustainability. That's a different topic altogether, Honorable Chair, which we should respect. Thank you.
Yeah. Minister, you're correct, but what the honourable member has mentioned, and we have discussed this, and this is why we took a decision as a committee to say we've got to fight now with National Treasury or convince National Treasury to take the equitable share. So the point here is that if we have, we've got this wonderful institution with an excellent balance sheet, but we borrow money against our balance sheet, but then the money to pay back, you've got to have uptake agreements to finance that project, and that money must come downstream, from downstream. Otherwise, it means that government will continue to bail out and have guarantees. So I think that is the point that the honourable member make, and we've made as a committee this point many times. And it's not comparing local government and what the department do. We understand 100% the role of the department supplying bulk water. But that is also why the Water Service Amendment Bill is now being on the table to make sure that we can take charge. Minister, if you appoint someone and you give out a license and they don't adhere to the license, you should be the person to withdraw the license. But you don't need to respond to that. I think it is just a valid point made that if you want this agency to be successful, we must have guarantees that downstream they will pay the commitment for the services that they have received. Whether it is via a water board or, if we put in infrastructure, spending a lot of money to build the Lesotho Highland scheme, but we've got to get Rand Water to buy that water from us, and then we've got municipalities again that must pay the water they buy from Rand Water. And if there is a disconnection, this whole process is going down the drain. And I think that is a point that we try to make. Thank you.
Maybe, Chair, let's respond to it. Minister Chairperson is correct. We came for one item, but if there's a strong feeling to discuss other items, we will not shy away from them. But let's just guarantee, because South Africans and our lenders are watching this thing. One of the things, Honorable Chairperson, you should appreciate that we have set the risk upfront. The risk of non-payment by water users is a risk, and that risk has to be mitigated. But equally, remember, this agency is going to go and borrow money from the markets. We're not borrowing money for the first time. When TCTA has always borrowed money, there is always something. When you go to the lenders, they will ask you whether will you be in a position to guarantee that they will get their money back. And in most instances, and every time we've been here, we always have off-take agreements in place. Let's not actually make a mistake because these board members, we can't want them to be called delinquent directors. They can't be referred as they are doing negligent trading. Remember, we're in the JSE registered to them. These off-take agreements, in the main, the biggest backbone is economical activity. We did two of them as an example. The mines guaranteed that they will take that water, and hence we're able to raise the loans we've raised. But this government says you cannot have water only for an economic activity. There has to be a social component. That's why you look at what Minister She has done using the Funds Management Development Model as an example. That pipelines can't go through Sikukune, the Nebo Plateau, go through Puluwan until Mukhalakwen, and you leave the communities behind. There's a social component. That's why in the funding model, which is a very sound financial model, the state has always made commitments on the social component, which is those that people that must get water. That's why the grants and subsidies, including the others, are always made available. And that issue that now we are going to the agents, it doesn't change. It doesn't change. The very same thing around the Lesotho Highlands. The Lesotho Highlands was not going to be done, the phase 1 and phase 2. Remember, it was supporting the mineral endowment in Gauteng. All those offtake agreements are still in place, including the users, which is Eskom and others. That's why Eskom is also benefiting from the water that is there. Minister is going to be doing Umkomazi in KwaZulu-Natal. That lower, I'm not sure whether it's up or lower Umkomazi in KZN. We've finalized the offtake agreements with all the users that are there. There is nothing that is called negligent or derelict in terms on how the business, in terms of fiduciary and financial prudence, we are going to expose anybody that is going to give us. But downstream, that discussion, as Minister says, let's have a discussion with it. Our efforts working with you and National Treasury are yielding results, but there are fundamental issues, not only for what, but also for Eskom and the other people that must be paid as part of trading services. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Minister. We take your point. It's 100% correct. Honorable Kobe, you had your hand up. I don't know whether that was to invite us to your party and then it went off, but I would, because it's your birthday, congratulations. I will allow you now to ask your questions if it wasn't for the invitation to your party.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to yourself and our colleagues, and thank you to the executive, particularly the Deputy Minister, for the well wishes. Thank you, Chair. Chair, before, I just want to congratulate the department on finalizing on the NWRA. And indeed, I think we had a great presentation today, Chair. I want maybe the department to go back and reflect, but this Bongani guy who presented today, he did exceptionally well. Thank you so much for walking the portfolio committee through the transition. Chair, I think last week when we were looking at the performance of the department, the NWRA was not yet registered with the CIPC. So I'd just like to know what the status is currently as it stands. And maybe, Chair, I think as a portfolio committee with the transition, we should expect to, it's not going to be a smooth transition 100%, but I think we must commend the department for having taken a horizontal approach rather than a vertical one. And this is more of a comment, Chair, and not necessarily a question, because I do envisage that as we go on, we will see a lot more issues and challenges that the department will be facing with the transition. But I just want to commend the department on a horizontal transition. The DG said that if they had, taken these assets from the ground up or started this vertically, it would have been much more expensive and it would have cost much more. And the vertical transition that the department has done on leveraging on existing entities, human capital, assets, all of that, it shows that really, I think we're advancing in terms of an institution, in terms of providing services for our people and strengthening institutions without having to start everything from the ground up. And this shows some sort of, I think, evolution in terms of governance thinking on the part of the department and its entities. And I just want to commend the department on that. But I want to know if they have maybe finalized the part of the registration. But well done over and above everything to the department. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Minister. There's only one question for you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let's also congratulate Honorable Kobe on adding one more year to her few years. Thank you very much. DG, can you respond quickly on that?
Sorry, Chair, can you I was listening, but I didn't quite catch which is the part that you would like us to answer.
On the status of the registration.
Sorry?
The status of the registration.
Oh, okay. I'll ask our legal advisor. She's in the meeting to respond. Bronwyn?
Thanks, DG. Our registration and incorporation of the agency has been lodged with the CIPC. We are in frequent liaison with them and have corresponded with the Commissioner to request his assistance in helping us to expedite both the registration and incorporation. They have come back to us just last week. There are some outstanding documents that we are just awaiting to furnish them with. And once that has been furnished, they will continue with the registration and incorporation, and we will keep a thumb on it to ensure that this gets expedited. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kobe, that is the responses.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I think it should be relatively easy. I mean, registering with the CIPC. If the department, as soon as the registration is complete, if they can give us a report through NOSIPO, I would be grateful. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kegakilwe.
Thank you, Chairperson. And let me greet the Minister and the Deputy Minister, the DG and the delegation, the board members and support staff, our support staff. Honorable members, good morning, everybody. Chairperson, let me welcome the presentation, which was well structured and we understood everything. And congratulate the department for the sterling work done. They've really complied to what they promised us in our last meeting when we were discussing this agency. And then let me welcome our newly appointed board and congratulate the minister for ensuring that we have board members with relevant required qualifications and skills. And then, Chairperson, let me go straight now to the presentation. Regarding the establishment of new agency, the key legislative and institutional establishment milestones have been largely achieved. With this Agency Act and Amendment Act finalized, the board appointed, and the incorporation papers filed with CIPC, the immediate priority now, Chairperson, is to ensure that the newly established agency has the governance and the operational capacity required to assume its mandate. And then my first question with regard to the establishment, with the legislative framework, board members appointed and incorporation now completed, what are the outstanding steps before the new agency becomes fully operational? And what is the target date for the completion of the transition from establishment to fully functionality? Given, now this one is with regard to the board, they are okay. I've indicated that their qualifications are relevant to be able to meet the mandate of the agency. And then second issue is with regard to the legal workstream, Chairperson. The legal workstream is progressing the transfer of contracts, statutory authorization, treaty-related obligation to agency, including the preparation of contract addendums and sessions documentations. The planned consultation with the Lesotho government through DERCO, together with the requirement to finalize the transfer of authorization and agreements before TCTA can be established, highlights the importance of ensuring legal continuity through the transition. So my question with regards to this one is, what key legal, contractual, and statutory authorization matters remain outstanding before the agency can assume full responsibility? And then, given the international obligation involving Lesotho, what are the implications of the ongoing consultation through DERCO for the transition timeline and the agency ability to assume the relevant treaty functions? And what contingency measures are in place to ensure that the consultations does not delay the transfer? That is all that I wanted to say, Chairperson. I'll come with another question in the next round.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Kikakilwe. Chair, in terms of the transition period, the planned transition period runs from 30th of June 2026 to March 2027, whereby the National Water Infrastructure Agent is expected to move towards full institutional and operational independence thereafter. The agency is expected to assume full responsibility for the 2027-2028 budget from April 2027, whilst TCTA will move into its wind down phase following completion of the required transfers and processes. That is why we have step by step in terms of transition. Then the DG and team will respond to the other question. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. DG?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll ask Bongani to add, but in summary, where a lot of the work needs to be done is with regard to the transfer of the staff from the department to the agency in terms of the negotiations and discussions in both bargaining councils, which will lead to we need to sign a transfer agreement with union representatives in both bargaining councils, and then the staff can be transferred. And the second is the transfer of the TCTA's loans, which also requires the lenders to complete their risk assessments and then to reach written agreements about the transfer of their loans. Then the other major thing is the transfer of the assets. But I think Bongani will add a bit more detail if necessary. With regard to the international obligations and the discussions with the Lesotho government, we have been informing them of this process for about 2 years now, and we don't envisage any major risks in that regard. They haven't to date raised any major objections to the treaty obligations being transferred to the NWRIA. Bongani, would you like to add?
Thank you, DG. Just to supplement what the DG has said, as far as the steps for the successful establishment of the agency, what we want to do now is to empower the Honourable Minister to be able to be in a position to gazette that notice as to when the agency will be fully operational. Come next year, the end of March, 1st of April, you would have an agency that is registered with the CIPC, with the board that has subcommittees in place. The loans that are being we are arranging for the roadmap for the lenders. Now we are finalizing that. We should be at about a 3-month to 6-month period that we'll be dealing with that. As far as the transfer agreement is concerned, as DG has mentioned, we are engaging the staff. So from where we stand, we want to ensure that come the 1st of April, all the necessary steps and the consultations that need to take place have taken place. PwC is now currently doing its inception report that will then highlight what the implementation steps will be going forward. And that will inform us to be able to empower the Honourable Minister to make that decision to transfer. You would find that during this transition phase, they will identify the specific components and aspects that need to be transferred, leading towards that state of preparation that is desired for the Minister to announce the transfer date. Thank you, DG.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kekilwe, that was the responses.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and I appreciate the responses. They were clear and straight to the point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Van Zyl. your three questions.
Thank you, Chairperson. My first meeting, so I think it'll be one question really. Just, I know that you've mentioned it, Chairperson, and Mahlobo is also the Deputy Minister has mentioned about the debt risk, and also Honourable Reddy. But I think to just make the point, and I think this department really must think about what the mechanisms will be when municipalities and other customers fail to pay their water accounts, because at the end of the day, the consumers will be throttled, the entity will sit without the money, and the MMs are the accounting officers that don't pay over this money to the entities or where it should go. So I think we need to amplify and say that we must maybe commit in having that meeting, and for the department to come up with an idea, because we can't legislate and have the legislation that money can be enforced, the payments, etc. But then there's no fail-safe or a mechanism for the department to make sure or to enforce consequence management. So I think there must just be a clear commitment that there will be a specific engagement on that critical issue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we've got that commitment from the Minister, but I would allow you, Minister, to respond to this.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I must respond to Mkhaya. Honourable Chair, we welcome that, but I must just highlight that 34% is potable water. 54% is water that is in agriculture. 12% is other industries. And therefore, the national water resource infrastructure is not entirely dependent on payment by municipalities, not a fatal risk to them, like a fatal risk which we are currently facing when it comes to water board. That is why even when we're withholding the equitable share through the National Treasury, where there was no mention of TCTA there, because they are not really affected. But we take the point that we must plan ahead so that we don't experience any further crisis, even if it's not there, but we must plan ahead. Thank you very much, Chair.
So, Minister, you're making the point that the risk don't lie with the new agency, but it could only lie with the water boards on the 4%. Well, point well taken. Thank you. Honourable Van Zyl, that is the responses by the Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. For now, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Honourable Moore.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Minister, DM, DG and the DWS team, the SANRIA board and team, colleagues and all staff on the meeting. Chairperson, I must confess, I still remain concerned about the creation of another mega SOE. It's not that I don't understand the need for the work that is happening, but particularly given South Africa's experience with institutions such as Eskom, where excessive concentration of responsibility has not necessarily translated into better delivery or stronger governance, there is an element of concern. And my particular concern with SANRIA is that many of the problems confronting our water sector are not caused by the absence of another institution. Major infrastructure projects are already plagued by delays, escalating costs, and implementation failures. And these weaknesses are a critical part of making it more difficult to secure the investment required to build new infrastructure. The department is proposing to consolidate an enormous portfolio of infrastructure, assets, debt, and responsibilities into SANRIA, but we have yet to be convinced that the new institution will actually solve these underlying problems, rather than simply consolidate and potentially, Chairperson, magnify them. So the presentation itself shows that several critical financial, operational, and institutional matters remain unresolved ahead of the proposed 1 April 2027 operational date. So we have a concern, and we'd love the information to be able to deal with this. So just 3 questions, Chair. The first one is regarding the April 2027 date for starting. DG, the presentation says SANRIA will be operational by 1 April 2027. Yet in the presentation, it anticipates that staff and asset transfers will still be outstanding after April, and that MOUs may then be required. can you give us an indication what must be completed before we can actually declare Sanria operational? And what are the current red flag milestones that could still delay the 1st of April? I'm concerned because this project has been going on for a while, and we have seen significant delays around mega projects. This project mustn't be delayed, similar to some other things. The second question is regarding the TCTA debt and lender exposure. I'd like to know what is the total value of TCTA debt that Sanria will inherit, and how much of that debt is explicitly or implicitly government guaranteed, and have all lenders agreed in principle to the transfer? Because if they haven't, that could be a major roadblock. And finally, Chairperson, to the DG, this committee really needs to understand the full financial position that is being transferred into Sanria, rather than considering the establishment of the agency only as at an institutional level. So can the department please, a chairperson through you, would it be possible to request the department provides the committee with the latest audited financial statements and balance sheets of both TCTA and the water trading entity, together with Sanria's pro forma consolidated financial statements and financial model, so that we can clearly see what assets and liabilities, debt, revenue streams, and obligations the new agency will inherit? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Moore. Honourable Moore, the balance sheets of the department and TCTA will come to this committee. And we can address it, but if we want that in the meantime as a report to us, we can ask the department to do that. Minister?
I agree with you, Chair. Concerns will always be there. It is justified. But Chair, when you have experienced the challenges in terms of SOEs, which Honourable Moore is referring to other, so you can't stop in improving on how you establish the new SOEs. And I think this is what we are trying to do. You learn from the shortcomings of others, and concerns will always be there up until you see the board fully functioning. But I agree with you that we'll bring the information as needed. Thank you, Chair.
DG, would you like to add?
Yes, please, Chairperson. I'd like to ask Bongani to answer the first question about the time frame of 1st April 2027. Bongani?
Thank you, DG. Just to answer the question from the honourable member, as I've stated, that come the 1st of April 2027, you will have an entity that has been legally incorporated with an executive authority in place, a fully functioning board. We've brought in PwC now, and what they're doing for us is to mapping out this implementation phase to tell us which aspects of the business will move during this transitional phase. Chairperson, no machine will switch off. The operations will continue as they are. So the transition itself does not necessarily mean that the operations must stop. The operations will continue, whether those aspects are still within the department or within the transfer. But come 1st of April, you will have an agency that exists. And in terms of the PFMA, they need to submit their budget to Treasury and their corporate plan. So we are planning for all of those to be done come 1st of April. But essentially, we want to empower the minister to be able to gazette to the public when is the actual date of transfer. But come 1st of April next year, you will have an agency that is established, that exists, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, Honourable Moore, your second question related to the TCTA debt. The CEO of TCTA did answer that earlier, but Percy, would you like to add to your answer from earlier?
Thanks, DG. One of the major areas where there's a debt, it's actually for the Vaal River system, which is the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. And that one is expressly guaranteed, I think, from day one, from 1986. So the debt alone there is sitting at 14.5 billion at this particular point in time, because we are in the phase of phase 2. So the rest really, it's not that worrying if you consider the difference that I talked about 18 billion, which might be really give or take 18 to 20 billion in terms of where we are. But I can say to Honorable Moore at this particular point in time that the other projects that we were dealing with, we are dealing with National Treasury because they asked us to apply for those projects also, or the funding to actually be, they wanted to look at whether they can give us express guarantees. So over and above the 14.5, there is work that we are doing with National Treasury to see whether one or two of the major projects can actually also go through that process of being expressly guaranteed by National Treasury, which we look at as a positive thing, because as we go and negotiate with funders, the most important part is their money safe? Is it getting into a space where they can say, we know that the fiscus is actually guaranteeing these loans? So it is work in progress, except for the 14.5, because that one has been expressly guaranteed by the state. But these other ones now, there is work on two of the major projects where we have done the application and it's going through normal processes within National Treasury to actually ensure that they can give us express guarantees. And like I said, some of the other older projects are getting to the end of the debt repayment period. That's why I was saying even this morning I was doing a prepayment, or TCTA was doing a prepayment to actually fast track the paying back, because where we have extra money, we try and make sure then we can push that money back into the project so that the state does not get exposed, or even the end users don't get exposed. So it is a dynamic process at this stage, but I'm hoping that the feedback that I'm giving is actually responding to the question asked by the honorable member. Thanks, DG.
Thank you, Percy. Then on the third question, we have been engaging with the lenders for a long time now, probably about at least 2 years. And we've been in a long process with them. They've all been participating in the process. They've all been comfortable with the process. The lenders, understandably, are very cautious because it's people's pension money and bank deposits that are at stake. So they don't do things like provide agreement in principle. But I can say that they haven't yet raised any very serious objections. But as it was indicated in Bongani's presentation, as part of their whole process, they still want to do their own final assessments of the risks. We, as indicated by Bongani, we did have an independent study done, which concluded that they wouldn't be at any more risk as a result of this transfer than they currently are. But they still have this final step in the process to go through where they do their own final risk assessments before we can finalize the transfers with them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Percy, can I just quickly ask, just for me to understand on the question and the response you gave. So if on a project A, let's use project A, you want to borrow 20 billion rand to finalize this project, but currently you are in the project and you only utilize 14 billion of that money, then you will only pay interest on the 14 billion and the other 6 billion will be available as and when you need that. Do you understand that correct?
Chair, you are right in terms of that. What we do is we'll go to board and get the total approval for what the project may cost. But the drawdowns, we try to engage with the funders in terms of saying we will only pay when we do the drawdowns, because other than that, you have to pay the total amount. And some of these projects are multi-year projects where you can only finalize them maybe in 8 to 10 years. So you don't want the state to be paying for the total amount. That's why we take what we need, but we get the overall approval first from board. Then we start engaging with the finance institution in terms of how are we doing the drawdowns. I hope that answers your question, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Then I understood it correctly. Honourable Moore, that was your responses?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I appreciate the responses and the detail. I suppose I'm still concerned around what happens. So let me try and understand this better for the launch, because we've dealt with the Lesotho government beforehand in consultation with them, and delays are very much a part of it. So I want to understand, by what date must the Lesotho consultation, lender agreements, guarantee transfers, IT migration, and Section 197 processes be completed for the 1st of April to remain realistically achievable? Or is the intention then to launch SANRIA and still have TCTA operating if those things aren't actually completed yet, so the treaty hasn't moved across? I'm not looking for it will be done. One thing the Lesotho Highlands project has told us is that extended delays are a reality. We see it in other areas with big financial projects. So I just want to understand, is the intention then at 1st April to launch, even if that means we have to keep TCTA and the order trading entity open? And then with regards to the debt, I still would love to know, I thank the GG for his answer, but I suppose what I'd really like to keep it simple is what happens when on the 1st of April, the deadline, if one or more of the material lenders has refused consent or imposes additional conditions, like we've seen on other issues. I suppose Namibia at some points creates difficulties for us. Or even if our Minister of Finance doesn't approve the transfer of the guarantees in time, will that then delay, or what will happen to that deadline from the financial side? Thanks, Chair. Just looking for that clarity.
Thank you very much, DG. As I understand it, TCTA will collapse on the 1st of April within this department and will be non-existent. But can we, Minister, get an answer on that?
DG?
Thank you, Minister. Chairperson. Bongani, would you like to go first, and then I'll follow you?
Yes, thank you, DG. I think to answer the Honourable Minister, the Honourable Member, the Honourable Minister has made sure that the board of TCTA is in place until the TCTA is disestablished. This primary reason is for the TCTA to be able to ensure that they transfer all the staff, all the assets, and all the loans until that date of disestablishment. So come 1st of April, if there is any loans that will still be outstanding at that point to be transferred, yet to be transferred across to the agency, it will be done so in due course until everything is transferred, and then we disestablish the TCTA. So, yeah, so what I've been informed is that we have from the 12 months from the date of incorporation for us to undertake all these processes. So incorporation date then kickstarts those processes for us to start moving across the loans to the agency. As far as the lenders, I think we've mentioned that we're engaging them. They are part of the process, and they understand. We've taken note of what they require for their satisfaction, and we are putting in place all those requirements that the lenders have said to us, and we've taken that information well in advance to prepare us for the due diligence processes. Thank you, TG.
Just to add, Chairperson, as we've indicated earlier in the meeting, we're committed to managing in this process in such a way that water services or the supply of water and the operations of the that are currently being carried out by the department are not compromised in any way, or not that there's no disruption, and also that the Lesotho Highlands project and other projects of the TCTA continue without any disruption. So the short answer, Honourable Moore, is that some of these risks, like maybe if a lender doesn't agree, or if the processes in the bargaining chamber take longer than we would have hoped for due to reasons beyond our control as the department, then we will will manage the situation so that there's no disruption. And if that means that the actual closure of the TCTA has to be a bit later than we would have planned, then that's how we will manage it to ensure that there's no disruption to either the current operations or to the current projects being managed by the TCTA. But at the moment, we are confident, given the amount of work that we put into managing these processes, the fact that we've been talking to the unions about this for several years now, and the fact that we've been talking to the lenders for several years now, and that they haven't raised any major issues. We don't think that those are likely risks at this stage. Thank you, Chair.
And DJ, I think the main reason is because there is a guarantee in place to secure the money.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Moore.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I appreciate the response from the presenter and the DG. I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't raise concerns on this project, but I hear where you are. We're going to have to just keep an eye on this, Chairperson, because as with all good things, we want this entity to be up and running. I have concerns about the entity, but now it's law. It needs to be up and running correctly. So we'll keep an eye on this, and thank you very much for the answers today.
Thank you very much. Honourable Ditebe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much. I'll switch off my video just so that I can then be able to talk to you and the committee and everyone better. Chairperson, thank you, and thanks to or rather greetings to the Minister, Deputy Minister, the members on the call, DG and the executive, and all other staff supporting the entire team of the DG, members of the board, our staff. Chairperson, I'd like to start off by saying that I think this committee was very much prescient when it, at that moment, decided to effect a technical amendment which would ensure that this entity, the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency, is properly categorized in terms of the PFMA as a Schedule 2 entity. And effectively, also that meant that the name change would occur, as we have indeed witnessed. And to say, Chairperson, that I indeed join other members in saying that we need to ensure that the mechanisms of accountability are in place. My understanding, however, is that this particular entity does not lead to a proliferation of more entities than we had in the past. Rather, it's a consolidation. TCTA, WTE, etc. And one of the reasons given to us at the time of us discussing this specific matter was that because the WTE could not act like a Schedule 2 entity and go to the market and raise capital in order to ensure that a very important resource such as water is continually funded. That was one of the reasons why we had to have this. And ultimately, as we know, the President gazetted this particular amendment and assented to that, and it was gazetted. And that is why we are where we are at the moment. So I do think, Chairperson, therefore, that some comparison being drawn, or an analogy being drawn between this entity and Eskom is, in my view, misplaced. As a matter of fact, we are on, I think, day 457 of no load shedding and more than 67% of the energy availability factor. And we know all the historic and contemporary reasons why we had load shedding. I'm not on that. The question, Chairperson, therefore, is with regards to the role of the entity. We do understand that there's lots of work downstream, as you yourself have indicated. And I think between the water boards and the entity, we have catchment management agencies. And Chairperson, while we were in Mpumalanga, you would have heard communities complain, in particular in the area called Matibidi, about the diversion of raw water by farmers there for purposes of their own animals and crops, etc., which act is indeed illegal. And this was also emphasized by the councillors who were in attendance on the last day of our visit there. So that is in addition, Chairperson, to concerns raised by the community about the pollution of groundwater. In one instance, one of the participants in the public hearings indicated that out of 50 boreholes that had been drilled, only about 3 were working because either, the fuel was being siphoned off the storage facilities, or the groundwater itself had moved because or had dissipated because of the pollution and other related matters. Now, my question is, while indeed we understand that the entity is at the upstream, but it cannot ignore the role of the CMAs, the catchment management agencies, and the extent to which then they have to safeguard the availability of water, ensure river health, and wherever else water may be found, groundwater, etc. In the end, Chairperson, if that water is illegally diverted, it should indeed concern the entity. So what mechanisms exist? And we do not have to wait for the CIPC, rather the entity to be registered with the CIPC. We have a legacy and a very good one in the form of the TCTA and everything else. I do understand that the focus most of the time is on the Lesotho Highlands Water Project with regards to the entity and so forth. But Chair, we do need to ensure that these illegal activities are curbed. So what mechanisms are in place to ensure that the entity and the CMAs collaborate to ensure that the sort of things that people complained about in Mpumalanga do not happen? That's the first question. With regards to acid mine drainage, we went to see one such facility out in Ekurhuleni, and I once asked a question whether the entity would be desirous of exploring the possibility of the same type of investment in other mining towns in the Free State where there is a phenomenon of AMD. And I'd like to know perhaps when will that possibly be done, even if it's on an exploratory basis. So, Chairperson, I've got those questions to the entity, but once again, to wish them well. I've also seen the members of the board. Clearly, there is continuity while there is change, and I think also the acting CEO as the former CEO of the TCTA. I think he complements the rest of the board quite well. So, Chairperson, I don't want to be naively optimistic, but I am indeed very optimistic that this board will be able to carry out its responsibilities, and that by the time PwC exits, everything else will be in place. But the last point, Chairperson, is that I'd like to emphasize, even though it may just be assumed that that will necessarily be the case, I'm talking here about the change management aspect. As you will understand, I think of the entities that are being put together, TCTA will probably be the one portion or component of the bigger entity that would have more employees, etc., etc. So it is important that all other employees that come from different other parts of government as employees, when they are brought on board to be part of this new entity, that they are properly oriented and that there is no risk of any one employee trying to act like a big brother because they were largely the bigger component and have been there, even though they were there under a different name. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ditebe. Deputy Minister or Minister? I'm not sure.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Minister asked me to respond to Honorable Comrade Ditebe. Comrade Ditebe, we are actually looking at these organizations in terms of their statutory mandates. But Minister is overall responsible for the entire value chain for water in dealing with the issues that you raise. Remember, in the main, they will develop this infrastructure. National infrastructure, must use the word national infrastructure. That will be the responsibility that they will continue to do. But when they do it, Minister will continue to give the directive that they need to do that because the planning function will remain in the department, Honorable Chairperson. Minister will then be in a position to say, no, you are in this particular catchment, let's develop more national water resources. Necessary studies will have been done. Then they will then be in a position to look for funding, but also at the very same time be responsible for the development of that particular asset. Then they will manage the asset. Some of the issues that we are raising, for an example, people who are going to be polluting the national water resource infrastructure, the people that will be doing the stealing of water, and all those other issues. Those who are managing these assets, which is the agency on behalf of the minister and minister on behalf of the people, they does have that operational responsibility. For an example, all the dams that we have, the canals that we have, we must ensure that they are secured. Most of these assets, Chairperson, are always regarded as national key points. They are national key points and covered by the National Key Points Act in terms of the responsibility that are there. They are not only supplying for strategic water users for the economy, agriculture, and domestic use. All those particular aspects, whether the area is secured, nobody is causing any funny things, including the access to those particular assets, they will actually have to look after them. But they will also be required to ensure that matters like the structural integrity, there is no dam failure or no canal failure. That's why programs like of operation and maintenance of these assets will be very important. Remember, Minister, most of the times when the weather starts to have more rains, she's always going around these assets, whether it's the VAR system and whatever they do. The issues of flood management, disaster management, they will have to look up to that. But the users have expectations, Chair. One of the things about the users is that when they buy the water from the agency, for their various users, like Minister was giving you the numbers, users must be guaranteed, Chairperson, the volumes or the quantities that they must get. In other words, those assets must be kept at a particular level so that it's healthy. Those users, they can get their allocations. But also it's not only allocation or Honorable Ditebe. They will also have to ensure that the quality of that water is good. Therefore, an interagency approach is the most important aspect. They will work with CMAs. They will work with other agencies that will also do an oversight that we don't have problems like you do in RDs, in many, many other areas. But it's clearly the CMAs, that's why Minister, as part of the reforms, she has institutionalized the issues of operationalization of all the CMAs. Now they're in place. So to the issue of water resource management and protection, they're able to do. But more importantly, there will still also be these dams of ours. They will only have water use licensing to be oversight that they meet the requirements, whether the licensing, depending whether it's in the ministry, whether in the CMA, that's what will happen. On projects will be determined by minister from time to time. A project like an acid mine drainage program called AMD, which is part of water reclamation, was assigned by the Minister of Water to TCTA on the basis of a directive. Because we don't only have to draw the water from the surface water system. There's a lot of groundwater which is polluted. And in terms of minister's priority, in terms of the water mix, we must do the issues of water reuse and reclamation. There's a lot of water available in the Witwatersrand area. You go to KwaZulu-Natal, and where every area there is issues of the mines that are there. And to bring that water back into the system for utilization, because it's a drop that we want as part of the water mix. Minister, from time to time, depending on the capabilities of any of her agencies, should make a determination whether they should be able to do it or not do it. But the determination remains with the minister. That's what I can be able to say. But ours, we don't look at the agency in isolation with the other organization that report to minister. And depending where the issues of capability resides and where the law says certain things must be done, that's how we shall be able to approach it, including the issues of pricing. Remember, the pricing remains with the minister. In the meantime, we are looking at the issue of the regulatory reforms. Minister is a quasi-independent economic regulator just for pricing only, Chair. Remember, our pricing from the water use developmental charge, the bulk charge, the minister has not been able to do the determination when it comes to the retail charge. But as part of the reforms, she'll look at the entire value chain, and then we are going to conclude our review of the business plan and the necessary legislation that will bring it to you. But as we speak right now, the pricing strategy for water for the country was approved by Cabinet and is in effect from the 1st of April. That will be my response, Chairperson and the Honorable Comrade Ditebe.
DG, would you like to add to the response?
Just on the issue of acid mine drainage, the acid mine drainage currently being currently being managed by the TCTA in Gauteng is funded from the fiscus. So if we were to, using that model, if we were to do it elsewhere in the country, we would have to get further funding from the fiscus for it. But we are looking at the possibility of seeing if it can't be made either partially or fully self-financing through reuse of the effluent from the acid mine drainage treatment plants for industrial water reuse. And if that can work, then it can be feasible without having to rely on allocations from the fiscus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ditebe, that was the responses.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I welcome that response by the DG. I think it is important that we explore that further with the innovative measures that he's spoken about, particularly with regards to provinces such as the Free State that have a long history of mining after Gauteng, for example, because you will agree, Chair, that while it was certainly not intended, but the poor or critical state of the wastewater treatment plants, that is the 107, quite a number of which are also found in the Free State, coalescing with AMD in this part of our country it is important that we try and manage that. The mines might be compliant or not compliant in some instances with the law, but I think it is something that we need to look at, and also downstream just circular economy issues for local communities, which will arise from that kind of initiative on the AMD front. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any further questions to the Minister and the department?
Chairperson,
Yes, Honorable Kegakilwe.
my last question is with regard to the 60 million allocated for the establishment of the agency. The presentation, Chairperson, does not indicate whether this allocation is sufficient to cover the full cost of establishment and transition. And then what is the basis for the 60 million establishment funding? And has the department assessed whether this amount is sufficient to cover the agency establishment and transition up to the 1st of April 2027? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister.
We'll ask the DG to respond, Chair, on this number of seed funding to support the transition.
Thank you very much, DG.
Thank you, Chair. CFO, Frans.
Yes, thank you, DG. Chairperson, yes, the amount is made up of what the colleagues have presented earlier on, that we will be funding the advisors, PwC. So we do have contracts in place. It also includes their breakdowns for operational support, including your fees that we have to pay to the board during this period. So we have a detailed breakdown of the 60 million as we have submitted that to National Treasury. For this period, it is sufficient. We did consult also with the acting chief executive, and we also engaged the board on the same. Thanks.
Thank you for that response. Honorable Kegakilwe, that was the responses.
I appreciate the response, Chairperson, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other further questions from anybody? It seems there's none. I would like to thank the department for their presentation, a well prepared presentation, and also welcome and congratulate the board and the board members, and also with the process and the progress that we have seen with these establishment of this entity. Thank you very much for that. I am now excusing all the other members of the department, and I request that only the members stay behind to do administrative work, appointing, approving our minutes. Thank you very much for a fruitful meeting this morning, and we hope to see you all in good health next week when we have a next meeting. Thank you, and members, please stay on to conclude our business.
Thank
the
you,
meeting
Chair.
is then
Thank you, Chair.
concerning this
Thank
agenda.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Right, let's move to the next point on the agenda, the approving of our minutes. Can we just flight them, talent? We've got the meeting of the 2nd of June, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, Page 5, that's the end. Can I get a mover? Colleagues, can I get... You don't need to put up your hands, everybody.
Chair, I move for the
Honorable
adoption of the...
Kegel.
I second the adoption of the minutes, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The next one, Talent. The 9th of June, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and that's the end. Can I get a mover?
Chair, I move that we
Thank
adopt.
you. Thank you, Stephen. Can I have a seconder?
I
Chair,
second.
Honorable Corbyn. Thank you very much. Next set of minutes. Twenty-fifth of June, page 1, page 2, page 3, 4, 5, page 6, and that's the end. I move it. And is still up.
Chair, I'm happy to move.
Thank you, Honorable Moore. Can I have a seconder?
Hi, Chair, I'm happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next set of minutes. 4th of August, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. Yeah, and then last portion of page 6. Can I have a mover? Seems everybody had to go and make some coffee or something.
No, it seems it's me again, Chair. I will move on behalf
I'll
of the committee.
second.
Chair, we are here.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I've got a mover and a seconder. And then the last one, 11th of August, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and that's the end. Who's going to be first now?
Chair, I move for the adoption of the minutes of the 11th of August.
Allah, I'll second. I'll second this time for once.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, now we can quickly move to the two reports, the first quarter and then the second quarter report. Tamani, can we, colleagues, can I quickly ask everybody had the opportunity to go through them? Can we just go through the highlights of this report and look at the recommendations? Would you be satisfied with that?
Chair, just to say it's the fourth quarter report and the first quarter report,
That's
not
my
the first
apology,
and
yeah.
the second. Yeah.
Fourth quarter, yeah. Yeah. Can we deal with that way, like we've done in the past?
I'm comfortable, Chair.
It seems, Tamani, just a slight overview, and then let's go straight to the recommendations.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to colleagues and honorable members. This is quarter 4 for the 25-26 financial year. It's slightly delayed in terms of us adopting it because soon we'll be dealing with the annual report, but this is just a precursor to that annual report. In terms of the performance, the reported expenditure performance stood at 98.9%, as we can see there, and in terms of achievements of targets, only 56% were achieved, which is slightly lower than 62%, which was achieved in the previous year. So that is insofar as the performance is concerned. But in terms of the this introduction, we summarize the performance in general. So in other words, if you read the introduction, then you have got a gist of what is going on within the performance of the department under the quota under review. Section 2 deals with the briefing as tabled by the department, and the table there summarizes the performance in terms of expenditure as well as targets. So there we provide comparative analysis over a span of 5 years. So you can see that the performance seems to be declining insofar as the targets, achievement of targets is concerned, which is something that we need to worry about. And this talks to really poor planning in terms on the side of the department when it comes to planning for the performance over the year. So that is in summary, and this table now provides the performance of up to fourth quarter, and here we compare the actual achievement in terms of target and the budget, and then the table on the side then provides the strategies that they would use or implement to address areas of underperformance. So that is well and good that they have appreciated the poor performance, and then they've got measures in place to deal with poor performance. So that is what we have already explained. Then this table 3 deals with irregular, fruitless, and wasteful, as well as unauthorized expenditure. And you can see there that the irregular expenditure stands at 5 billion, but mainly majority of it is an old irregular expenditure, which you can see even in the fourth quarter in 25-26. The main account, mainly from the main account, these are as old as 2016, 2017. So these are some of the things that they incurred there, including this unauthorized expenditure, which was incurred in 2017, 2018. So that is insofar as the expenditures are concerned. But the good thing is that the department is managing to avoid recurrence of some of these wasteful and irregular as well as unauthorized expenditures, because that was the last time they incurred unauthorized expenditure in 2017, 2018. So it means they have turned the corner in that regard. And that brings us to the observations as well as the responses by the department. And here we talk about irregular expenditure. So I'm not going to read it because I know this is quite also the fact that the report has been with the members for quite some time now. So that is in relation to irregular expenditure, and then they gave the response there, which also indicates what were the issues there. And then 3.2 provides the relationship between financial performance and non-financial performance, where members were concerned that there seems to be no relationship because it appears the department keeps on spending, but in terms of targets achieved, we don't see that, and there is also a slightly lack of detail in the reported performance. So that is the response, which they indicate that it's constrained by the DPME's guideline on reporting quarterly performance. So that is, there is a pro forma which they have got to follow. But to address that, then they also include addendums to these reports, so to expand on their performance. And the third issue was around project delays and infrastructure delivery. So this is a main concern, that projects are delayed, and which of course affects the service delivery on the ground. So they indicated what were the issues there, community unrest and other servitude issues. So those were some of the causes of those issues, which the department has indicated they are on top of it. They are dealing with those issues. Reporting inconsistencies and data integrity. So this is the one which members were talking about, the insufficiency in the detail insofar as the quarterly performance report portrays the work of the department. So, and in some of the numbers were not tallying, so but they indicated the issues there, and that there were issues around the template that is designed by the DPME and National Treasury. Municipal capacity and service delivery failures. This was the main issue around the particularly program 3, where municipalities were failing to spend, and that affects the performance of the department. So they have now tended to address direct grants into indirect grants, where the department can appoint implementing agencies and do the work. And then the sixth issue is debt management and deteriorating data days. This is a concern that they are unable to meet this target. So this has been the case for almost a decade now. So it's very difficult for them to be able to address the issue of data days. So that is something that the department is working on. Planning, sequencing, and infrastructure alignment. This is another issue which the department, the members raised, that there seems to be a disjuncture between planning and actual delivery of work, because this tends to affect the performance of the department. So some of these things can be anticipated through planning, so that then we don't see this disjuncture, particularly in Q1 and so on and so forth, that you may find some of the gaps because there is poor planning, which has not anticipated some of these bottlenecks. Project backlogs and historical projects. This was the issue around the long-standing projects, some exceeding 10 years, and the escalating cost, which members were concerned about. And we have since requested the department to provide details on this on a quarterly basis, which they are currently starting to do. Risk management and financial recovery plan implementation. So the department in this regard has started to implement this, but there is some still issues around fully complying with the financial recovery implementation plan. So, but they are continuing to deal with that. The issue around operations and maintenance through grants. So this was some of the issues that the members raised, that maybe there should be a consideration to turn some of the grants into specific grants for operation and maintenance. But then the department indicated that there is a need to review or amend the Division of Revenue Act, so that to provide for these issues, this can only be done through a National Treasury. But this is something that I think as the committee, we will put this recommendation during the BRRR process, which is coming in a few months. So we will be able to address this directly to the Minister of Finance, and then he will be able to respond officially in this regard. And that brings us to the recommendations. Recommendation number 1 is that the department should provide a consolidated, detailed report on all infrastructure projects, including stalled and delayed projects, reflecting progress, revised completion dates, challenges, and interventions within 14 days. 4.2, that the department should provide a comprehensive report on Program 3, Water Services Management, detailing causes of regression in performance, corrective measures, and the timelines for improvement. within 14 days. That the department should submit a detailed report on projects from previous quarters that were not completed, including reasons for non-completion and status within 14 days. That the department should provide a report on database deterioration, including contributing municipalities or entities, actions taken on credit control, and measures to reduce outstanding debt within 14 days. 4.5, the department should provide a detailed breakdown of strategic water infrastructure projects, including mega projects, regional bulk infrastructure projects, indicating scope, budget, expenditure to date, delays, and expected completion timelines within 14 days. That the department should provide updated information on the status of SLA between Val Central and Machabeng, including reasons on why this SLA remains unsigned despite numerous assurances that its completion is imminent and steps being taken to enforce compliance within 14 days. 4.7, the department should provide a progress report on the Val River intervention and wastewater treatment works upgrades, including timelines, funding allocations, and remaining work within 14 days. That the department should provide a detailed report on challenges affecting project implementation, including contractor performance, community disruptions, procurement delays, and funding constraints, and the implications on cost escalations. These include downtime charges, amongst others, together with proposed mitigation measures within 14 days. That the department should provide additional information on the Giani Water Project Phase 2, including funding status, implementation progress, timelines for completion within 14 days. Yeah, this is the end and report to be considered. This is the fourth quarter, Chairperson.
Let's just quickly deal with that. That is the recommendations in this report. Is there any...
If I may indicate,
changes?
some of these have already been communicated to the department through the minutes, yeah.
So we have received some of them and we have requested them. So the 14 days does not start when the report is approved. You already requested for these information. Colleagues, this is the recommendations. Are you supporting these recommendations? Any amendments to the recommendations? Honorable Ditebe?
Chairperson, I do, but there's just one issue here, and that is with regards to UIFW&E, with regards to what? The department, I think since about 2017, the report says they have not had that. But what I think is unclear, Chairperson, and we may have not specifically asked that question, is how much has been paid to the SIU so far, by the department. Remember, when there is a proclamation issued, the client entity pays for that. And I'm not sure how much has so far been paid, if all of that money has been paid to the SIU so that it can then conclude this part. Because a lot of what needs to be done to regularize that department, I think, depends on the work of the SIU. I'm not sure how we can best deal with it, but that is one bit that is important. So that, Chair, when we have the department take disciplinary action against some of its staff, one of whom I think had about 10 million rand taken from their pension because of the boreholes issue and so forth in Limpopo, I think we should know, what's the cost benefit continuum in that regard. You will guide me, Chair. But on the issue of the SLA, I raised this issue again some 2 or so weeks ago in a different meeting where the department attended together with Human Settlements with regards to a petition that was signed by members of a community here in Machabeng At that time, the Val Central said that the version of the SLA that was sent to them was not the one agreed upon, but the acting municipal manager said they would discuss it. So I'm not quite sure, because you and I are not in the administration. We're not quite sure where that is. But I think based on the response of the minister in one of our meetings, some 2 weeks or so ago, she said, the MEC for Cochrane and Human Settlements in the Free State was approaching the courts. I don't know where that matter is, because remember the section 139(5)(a) and C in that municipality came on the back of a court order. It's not like the Mangaung one, which was effected by the executive. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Tamani, can we add the SIU, the question, the cost that we had to pay SIU? And then, Honorable Ditebi, I think the question you've asked now is more related to currently. Maybe we should just ask a separate question to the department concerning that matter, but I don't believe it should be in here. Tamani, your view on that?
What we will do, we are not going to add on this report. So what we'll do, we'll put those two questions in the minutes of this meeting of today. So that will form part of the resolutions on the minutes of our meeting today. So those will be communicated to the department, and then they can respond in terms of the costs or the monies that they've paid so far to SIU, as well as the update on the SLA on Machabe. Okay. So I think that will cover it. Thank you, Chairperson.
I think Honorable Moore is covered. Honorable Ditebi, are you covered with this?
No, Chair, I'm in agreement with you and our content advisor. I think that's the way we should go. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can I get someone to propose we accept that report?
Chair, I'm happy to propose.
I'm seconding, Chair.
Thank you. Can I have thank you very much. Can we go to the next report?
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. This one is the first quarter. We dealt with it, I think, a few weeks ago. It was first quarter of this, the year under review. There's not much that has happened, but be that as it may, we will quickly go through it. The introduction really introduces the report as well as summarizes the progress that has been achieved. And we can see that of the planned targets that were supposed to have been achieved in the first quarter, only 64% were achieved. And in terms of expenditure, 13% of the budget that was planned to be spent in the first quarter was spent, but the target was 22%. So that is insofar as the performance is concerned in summary. And there we summarize some of the deliberations and concerns that the members raised during that process, which we will delve back to at the end. So the section 2 provides the overview as well of the expenditure and performance report. And one thing to note here is the National Water Access Acceleration Program for Unserved Communities, which is part of the National Water Action Plan, which is being led by the President through the Waterco, popularly known as the National Water Crisis Committee. So that is what the highlight of that report. Then I will proceed to the table. Table 1, it just summarizes the performances I've already explained that you can see the plan was to spend 22%, and they only managed to spend 13.5%. And the reason here was because of the misalignment between the financial year of the department and that of municipalities. So, but that of course talks to the real issue that there is poor planning on the side of the department, because they knew this information that the financial years are not aligned, so they could have just budgeted more to be spent in the second quarter than put it in the first quarter. Now it reflects badly on their performance in the first quarter. So that is basically what is happening in that. And insofar as economic classification of expenditure, you can see the transfers, and it's clear from the transfers that they were supposed to have transferred 12.9 billion, which not in the first quarter. They only managed to 7.5. So that is insofar as the performance concerned. But of important here is the strategies that they have put under for each target that they were unable to achieve. Then they also indicate the things that they are going to do to address the poor performance per program. So that is what this table is about. And then here we are back again to the same table, which talks to irregular, fruitless, wasteful, and unauthorized expenditure. So it's more the same like what we have seen in quarter 4. So it means there's not much movement insofar as addressing this old unauthorized expenditure as well as irregular expenditure. The reason is that some of the processes needs to be approved by Parliament, and some needs to be condoned by National Treasury. Then they come to Parliament, and other processes needs to happen. So it's quite a long process that they need to go through. So that is insofar as that expenditure is concerned. We've already explained that. And that brings us to the observations. And 3.1 talks to water boards acting as implementing agents across municipalities. So this was something that the committee welcomed, to say where water boards are acting as implementing agents in failing municipalities, then that would fast track the progress and also service delivery. And poor expenditure and performance in program 3, members were concerned that this program performed badly. And this is purely because of that misalignment between the financial years and also the issue of poor performance by municipalities. So this is something that they are addressing also by redirecting some of the direct grants to indirect grants. So they explained this as length and consequence management for poor performance in the department. Members raised concern that are there any issues that are going on, but they indicated that department do discipline those that are responsible, particularly in the department. But majority of its poor performance is as a result of poor performance from the local government side. So they have got little control to what happens that side. But where poor performance is clearly demonstrated in the department, then they take measures. The issue around non-revenue water and water losses, this is a concern which the members raised, and the department emphasized that this is mainly in the reticulation systems, which is the infrastructure of the municipalities. But the department is working with municipalities to assist, and the issue around the action plan, which is one of its targets, to address this issue of non-revenue water. So, but all of these measures or interventions remains to be seen whether they will be successful or not. 3.5 is the maturing wastewater infrastructure operations and municipal debt. So here we go back to the same issue of the SLA, as well as I think the handover of that rehabilitated 12 megaliter wastewater treatment plant, which members were concerned that it has been transferred to the municipal, or handed over to Machabeng, and it means that it will also go back to where it was, because Machabeng does not have the capacity to run that plant. So the same question remains here with regard to the SLA, which the answer changes all the time. So there is no clarity, but of course we will address it through those minutes of today to get an update. Perhaps it will be positive this time. 3.6, delayed water infrastructure projects in the Northwest Province. These were some of the projects that were members inquired about to find out. Some of the projects were delayed from 2018, 2020, there they gave the response that they have now started working on these projects, and the completion dates appear to be this year. And we can see here they said September 2026 for, I think, Mafikeng, and then Brett set for completion December 2026. So that is something that we will also follow up in the coming performance quotas reports to see whether this is true or not. Resignation of internal audit officials. There were issues around this mass resignations from the internal audit of the department. Here the department indicated that some of these officials got better offers somewhere, or maybe following new other career developments, but they managed to counter offer for one of the individuals to stay in the department. Contractor performance and blacklisting. Members requested whether this is being done or not, and they've indicated that they are doing it, but the challenge is these people continue to change names and then start trading with other names, and then to find themselves again implementing in some of the municipalities. So it's very difficult to deal with this issue, but it's something that they are trying to find ways to deal with. Water use license backlogs. There were issues around poor performance insofar as meeting the targets for water use license. And they have now indicated that the transfer of licensing responsibility to CMAs caused this problem. But now to address this issue, they have now deployed a roving intervention team of specialists, which goes to all CMAs that are struggling to address or to speed up the processing of water use licenses. 3.10, municipal debt owed to water boards. This is an issue that the members raised, that what is whether debt recovery interventions have yielded any tangible results. And they have indicated there that the issue of withholding equitable share by National Treasury has encouraged some of the municipalities to start paying. And they indicated, I think, for example, they indicated Johannesburg, Mrafong, Victor Kanye, amongst others, that they started paying when this intervention was put in place. 3.11, update on Foxwood Dam project in the Eastern Cape. Nandoni Water Project works in Limpopo. This also members requested to get some clarity in terms of what is going on there, and there they provide the details insofar as those projects are concerned, and they indicated that construction is expected to be completed in 4 years' time. So some of these projects will start to deliver water around 2030. And that is, I think, Foxwood Dam and also the current expansion of the Nandoni water treatment works that is currently underway. And under that, there was, the response for the upgrade of Nandoni water treatment works, which I've just explained, that is currently underway, managed by DBSA. So I think that brings us to the recommendations. 4.1, that within 14 days of the adoption of this report, submit a written report to the committee detailing municipalities that have improved their performance, their payments to water boards following withholding of equitable share allocations, as well as municipalities that have failed to respond or improve compliance, to enable committee to consider summoning such municipality to appear before Parliament. So this is one of those recommendations which members made. That within 14 days of the adoption of this report, submit a written report to the committee profiling all projects that have been delayed and blocked, completed during the reporting period, including the reasons for delays, interventions undertaken, revised completion timelines where applicable. 4.3, that within 14 days adoption of this report, provide the committee with a geographical landscape analysis of the backlog of water use license applications, identifying provinces, catchment management areas, and regions where backlogs are most severe, and indicate priority areas for intervention by the roving team. That within 14 days of adoption of this report, provide the committee with a written report on its response to the judgment in Kashmir and others versus Minister of Water and Sanitation and others case number provided, including implications of the judgment, actions taken to comply with the court order, and the measures being implemented to address this issue raised by the court. So this, just to remind members, this 4.4 is a case in Eastern Cape where the court has found that the Minister of Water and other entities, I think the municipality, the district, as well as COCTA, have failed to provide water insofar as the section, I think 27 is concerned. They have now ordered the department to coordinate development of implementation plan to provide water to those communities. And they've given, I think, 3 months quarterly to report to court in terms of progress in that regard. So following that judgment, the department issued a statement indicating that their lawyers are studying the judgment with an intention to appeal. So when this issue was raised during the meeting, the answer did not indicate that the department is in effect appealed. So it means this court order is still effective. So then we need the department to provide response in this regard. Thank you, Chairperson. This is the summary of the first quarter report.
Thank you, Temani. Thank you for your hard work and preparing this for the committee. Is there any amendments to the recommendations or to the report, Selo?
Chairperson, thank you very much. I think we must make reference, Chair, to the ring fencing of revenue from trading services, because if we do not include that, given the fact that we already have the metro trading services reforms, and the intention is to go to so-called secondary cities and eventually to other municipalities, I think we need to look at that in the recommendations, because if we do not do that, a mere reference to a section 216 subsection 2 intervention, that being a provision of the Constitution which allows the minister through National Treasury to withhold, for example, the equitable share, will not go far enough in ensuring that the water boards do get what they are supposed to get, because in effect, Chair, that means the water boards are more likely, if we follow that cycle, to be paid only 4 times a year, and that being, quarterly. And I think that's why I'm linking the whole issue. That is indeed the observation that the committee made and supported by the department with regards to the withholding of the equitable share. But as I say, we must link it to the whole issue of regular payments on a month-to-month basis, in addition to proceeds from the equitable share being used to pay the water boards. Chairperson, I hope I haven't confused members with my input. Thanks.
Well, that I can't say at the moment. Let's agree that you did not. Tumani, can we add that?
I think I will request Honorable Ditebe to perhaps write something down, because I completely did not get the recommendation, but I thought it's something that is just recommending that there should be regular payments to the water boards, so it should not be quarterly when perhaps municipalities get their payments. So it should be a regular, which I think we can put a recommendation to that effect, to say the minister should ensure that there is regular payment to water boards, not necessarily to avoid quarterly payments.
Okay. Honorable Ditebe, that amendment that we can put in?
Yes, Chairperson, I think that we can do. Please forgive me for troubling you. Chair, you will also recall that in terms of the arbitration, Machabeng is supposed to pay between 62 and 70 million rand per month. But there was a provisional agreement subject to the signing of the SLA that they would pay 30 million rand per month. And of course, we do not as yet know. They said that they've been paying that, but that's outside of the remit of the SLA. Shouldn't we put it there that particular, remember it was a 6-month period that the minister referred to. When is it ending? So that it does not become a moving target. That perhaps in the recommendations with regards to Machabeng specifically, the 6-month period or review period for purposes of paying Vaal Central Water be evaluated, and with a view to making a higher payment to the water board, because remember, all of this is part and parcel of efforts by the committee to protect the liquidity position of the water boards across the board. Thanks, Chair.
Yes, thank you. Now it's clear, Honorable Ditebe. We will capture it like that, yes.
Okay. Members, are you satisfied with that? To the recommendations?
Chair, I have my hand up.
Yes, Chair.
Chair, please record my my objection to the proposal that equitable share will be paid directly to water boards. I don't want to debate it. I'll discuss it when we meet. There's a specific purpose for equitable share allocations, and it's in the Act. By diverting this, all you're doing is you're shifting the blame from those municipalities and ensuring that they get their books and get their procedures in order. And the people that's going to suffer the most here are going to be the residents. So we would object to such a proposal. Thank you.
Unmute, Chairperson.
I worry the chair is having problems with his internet connection because he dropped off for a bit there as well and looks like he's frozen now.
Yeah, it looks like it's having a problem.
Leon, if you can hear me, maybe turn off your camera just to try and increase your bandwidth because we're losing you quite a lot at the moment.
Chair? Hello, Chair? I think he's been kicked out.
Yeah,
And it will only reflect in a bit. It won't
He is
reflect now.
online.
No, I'm saying it looks like he's online, but you see, I think you see he's offline, but he will come back. I think it's just a matter of network.
Yeah.
He is rejoining the meeting now.
Okay.
Colleagues, can you hear me now?
Progress. Perfect, teacher.
Okay, colleagues, my apology. I had to switch to another device. I don't know what happened. I got the gist of Honourable Reddy. He is objecting to adding this into the report. Is other members satisfied that we add that to the report?
Chair, sorry, if I can also speak on this. I don't mean to go ahead of Kobe, but I think Honourable Kobe has got a different point.
Yes.
I just want to talk about the procedure here, because whilst I don't have a stringent issue with what Honourable Dutebe is proposing, I'm not sure that he raised it in this meeting where the minutes are meant to represent what happened in the meeting. And is it the right procedure to include them in minutes when it is I believe, in case I'm also confused on the issue, I believe it's a new proposal rather than a proposal that was missing, because I don't recall a request around.
That is correct. That is correct.
That's my concern, Chair.
Colleagues, look, we are as I also agree with what the honourable member says, but remember, this is not minutes. This is a report we are sending to Parliament. You know, so I don't want us to be on the wrong foot. Tumani, can you advise us?
Yeah, the Honorable Dutebe has since revised that submission of his because it relates to a point on SLA between Machabeng and Val Central Water. There was the minister indicated that they've got an arrangement of six months where the Machabeng will be paying 60 million. So that will be paying 30 million. So now the question that he wants to know is an update in that regard. When is that arrangement ending, and whether it has achieved its goal, and whether the Machabeng now is in a position to increase that payment to the normal payment of I think 60 odd million.
Yeah.
So that is in line with what the issues were raised in this report. So the issue of equitable share is the one that I think he has since revised. So it's no longer relevant to our discussion now.
Yeah, I agree with you. So the honourable members are correct. So we will not put in the equitable share, but ask the question on Machabeng, when is the 6 months going to be reviewed? When is the date? When is the
Yes.
lapsing date of the 6 months? Are we all satisfied with that one?
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Kobe, you had a question?
Thank you, Chair. But yes, I'd also like to agree and maybe just remind us as colleagues that when the reports are brought to us, Chair, as per procedure, that the report must reflect the discussions of the day in question and not necessarily add on. We could add on as a matter of expatiation of something that is already in existence that the committee had ample time to debate and talk about, but bringing a new resolution altogether just brings us to where Honorable already says he doesn't want to debate, but he'll reject it. So we don't want to go there. But Chair, I just wanted to say with the point regarding, I think if Tomani goes back just a bit to the court case, Chair, between the department and the communities, I agree with that point, Chair, and I just wanted to point out the Honorable, not Honorable, what's his name? Tomani, our content advisor, actually contacted me a few days with regarding this this court case, this court matter. And Chair, I just wanted to bring to your attention that your team, your content advisors are very thorough to a point where if something is not understood in the meeting, they will come on the sides to make sure that extra work is done on the matter and extra research on their part. Even if we have given them just the short end of it, they'll go the extra mile of doing extra research on it and coming back to engage us. So I just wanted to just relay that point of when you said that your team is hardworking, and I just wanted to relay my appreciation to Tamani with regards to that point. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ditewe, your hand is still up?
Yes, Chairperson, sorry. I got kicked out of the meeting. My battery had died. Chair, I don't want to belabor this point, but perhaps just to clothe this in context. You will remember at our meeting at the castle, where the Minister of COGTA was present, and he attended so that we could take the whole issue of organs of state that owe municipalities to make their payments to for services to municipalities, so that whatever the municipalities owe the water boards, etc., they should then, on the back of that, be able to do so. And perhaps if there is concern on the part of members about how far Section 216 goes, it is conditional, Chair. It does not exceed 120 days. So in other words, it's an emergency measure. It is not intended to be a permanent feature. And that is provided for in the Constitution. So when we talk about the equitable share that is due to municipalities and it being tampered with to make payments to creditors, etc., this is not with a view to entrenching this as a permanent feature, but rather to ensure, again, read with other sections of the Constitution, in this regard, the principles contained in Section 41, that we're trying to bring a balance, because Honorable Reddy, correctly so, has said, and you supported him. Downstream, there are things that happen. So in other words, entities that are meant to treat water, raw water, that the water boards buy from the department, right? If they are not paid by municipalities downstream, it's a disaster. And therefore, there will be water in the tap. So I think it should therefore be understood in that context.
Yeah.
The not saying that the withholding of equitable share. And by the way, we are not the only ones that are affected. There's ESCOM and there are others. So, Chair, I thought I should just make that point. I'm not necessarily adding a new point here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think we are all in agreement. It seems the minister wasn't very happy downstream, but that is unfortunately what it is, and we've got to take that into account. But I think that was then the recommendations on this. Can we then consider this report, Honourable Reddy?
Chair, please record our, we'll get back. So we haven't decided yet. We're still considering the details of this. Haven't recorded that we did not agree, nor did we disagree.
Thank you, Honourable
Thank
Reddy.
you.
We will do that. Colleagues, can I get then a mover for this report?
Chair, I move for the adoption of the report.
Can I have a seconder?
I second the adoption of the report.
And can we then just also record the position of Honourable Reddy to this report? Thank you very much, colleagues. That brings us to Mane, I'm correct. That's the end of the business for today.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson.
So you have now off till 3 o'clock.
Chair,
Yes.
Chair, can you imagine you wanted to keep us here until 3 o'clock?
No, I will never keep you there till 3 o'clock.
Outrage, outrage.
We will join you for your birthday. Just indicate where that should be, where we should be. We'll be there. Honourable Reddy?
Yeah, just a quick one. I thought that this will be an opportunity for us to discuss next week's public hearings. Is it at all possible for us to postpone that to after the elections? I'm just concerned that the election program is becoming quite tight, and I know members are all involved in that. If we could perhaps consider postponing next week's hearings.
So we've got next week's hearing, or this weekend's hearing, and the next week's hearing. Honourable Reddy, let's see what can happen. We will not continue after the end of this month till after the election. So that has already been addressed. I'm not sure whether this will be fruitful and wasteful expenditure because the Parliament has already done a lot of work. But rather, let's get administration to come back to us on whether it is possible or not possible, and then we can revert back to you maybe later in the week. This weekend, I believe, will still continue. You are asking for next week, the end of the month.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So let's find out, and then I will speak now with our personnel and get them to respond and get their managers to respond and see whether it's possible. If it's possible, we will consider that. I think it is a good thing to stay away out of communities now while parties are busy with election. We could just run into trouble when we get to difficult communities. So therefore, let's come back to you within the next day or two for that. With that said, thank you very much for today, and I now adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Bye.